taxes you're collecting?
We collect about $4 million a year on 2 mills.
Okay. You got your population's
15,000.
how many square miles?
11.
It's 11? 11.
So, may I ask? So your aggregate value of your community is about $1 billion, which is what Lake Worth is, but you have less than half the population that we do.
Yes.
So there's, you know, there's a
It's
lot
hard to
of,
do that. In every city's like you say, in every,
exactly.
we're in a more of an urbanized street, so there's a lot of differences and similarities.
Yeah, and some of our costs are driven that we have an awful lot of tax-free properties. For example, we're a county seat, the whole county complex is located there. And so we're also the center of the church business. We have considerable number of churches.
We'll match up.
We'll match up.
But you've got Piper Aircraft. I mean, what's your biggest employers in the city?
Piper is our major employer,
Yeah.
and tourism is our biggest industry right now.
You have a lot of hotels.
We do, and they're on the beachfront, which
Got the beach
is
front.
our value.
Can you come back at another session and talk about your pool?
Yes. Any other
I
questions?
can't make money on the pool.
No.
That's a weakness now.
Ms. Mack?
Just have one last question, and also if the former mayor, commissioner might answer this one as well. Just what's the best advice that you could offer us based on your experience and similarities in dealing with FMTA? And what is your best advice?
My best advice is set what it is you want to happen. What are your parameters to make that happen? You need to come to, I think, a consensus of the council that either we're going to sell or, but if you leave it as broad as possible, you give yourself more flexibility. The second thing, in my opinion, you need to pick the team that you're going to head up that effort to bring contracts back. And if the council will take the role that we're going to review and approve or reject the contracts, you go out and make it happen, bring back the best that you can. And you've got to have faith in that team that does that, which means the selection of the individual going in, or the individuals going in, is very critical in that discussion and in that selection. But, for example, when I was in Dover, Delaware, the city council there gave all opportunities. Delmarva Power came in and said, here's $100 million for your electric utility. And a good friend of mine, still a good friend, was Mayor Jim Hutchison, and Hutch said, Jim, $100 million, you think what we could do with that? And I said, well, start deducting all of our costs associated with that. And eventually, but the bottom line to that is that we went out and got the right team of the experts, because that's critical to do, who can help you put together a deal. We wound up with a deal totally different than what we started with, but the parameters were a lot less than what we have in our situation here. What the city council has said in Vero Beach, we want to protect our customers in their rates into the future. In Dover, we didn't really start with that premise. Our premise there was, can we maximize the amount of money? Because most of the guys there were businessmen on their city council, so it was a different perspective, a different city operation as we did it. And when it finally worked out, no one would have guessed 3 years before, and it took us about 3 years to go through that process, what we would wind up with at the end. They would have never guessed it.
Thank you so much. I think, once again, you really have to consider your own city and your particular circumstances. I mean, the city of Vero Beach, we have 60% of our customers are outside the city. So obviously their contention is they're being taxed with no representation, and they've continued to support the city. Of course, for the city people, hey, this has worked great for us for 30 years. What do you mean we don't want to do it anymore? Well, with our electric rates, the differential got to over 30%. We're surrounded by the lowest cost producers. Yeah, you can understand why you're going to have an outrage and roaring about saying, hey, you should not be in the electrical business, you cannot be competitive. When we negotiated our additional power source contract with Orlando Utility Commission, the city council, the staff all said, oh yes, we will get FPNL rates. We did not get FPNL rates. That disparity continues to grow, and as we see coal being more inefficient, the power costs that we get from FMPA what we buy our power at exceeds FP&L's retail rate. What chance do we ever have to be able to meet FP&L's rates? You know, what happened to transmission and maintenance and power, everything else? You know, there was no way. So for us, this was a good move. Although we may not be bringing a great deal of dollars back into the city, we're saving over $20 million to our customers every year by going forward with this deal. And that is a huge note to businesses. I mean, I've been called by a business that, oh, he wants to expand and was going to move out of our county area because of the electric rates. And he said, oh, do you think we really could get this going? And I said, we are doing everything we can to try to bring the most competitive rates for our customers. And with this sale, you know, we're looking at approaching our pension problem, which costs us $3 million a year. I mean, I don't know where you are with your unfunded pension and how you're catching up with it. But if we can fund that pension and eliminate that $3 million, that pretty much takes care of the deficit, the $2 million deficit that we're going to have in the shortfall. So, I mean, there are things you can do. Each city, you have to work your own issues through and know what number you need to get to. But in the process, if there's any questions, anything, I mean, I'd be glad to share, once again, our experiences and have to go forward.
Commissioner Serby, you had a question? Hold on, hold that mic.
Yes, did you entertain at all upgrading your own plant? Because you said it was 50 years old equipment, so that's pretty far out there without having done anything. So I was wondering why you didn't, you know, try to upgrade it even all.
We have no interest in being in this business. We are not efficient as an electrical utility
Right,
supplier.
if you let
We're not
something go
efficient.
and you don't do anything to upgrade it over 50 years, that's a
I
problem.
said 30 years ago we tried to sell this deal. We couldn't get it passed. It was the Federal Trade Commission, I guess, knocked it down.
Department of Justice.
Department of Justice at that time. So, you know, I mean, it's just not a business that, you know, we are going to be efficient at. And if you look at, you know, municipal, we're just not efficient. We cannot compete.
A little different perspective, not to clash with my council member, of course, but the power generation requires fuel purchasing as a commodity. There's no way we could compete in that marketplace, in our opinion. The other is that you have to find a marketplace to sell the power. In today's world, in the state of Florida, there's an overabundance of supply, a downturn in demand. Now, demand's starting to go up a little bit, as we see. And our plan is a is a gas and oil generation unit. And we have the gas supply. Now, we have contracted that gas supply to OUC, so it really is not our gas supply anymore. And we even actually cannot turn our plant on without OUC giving permission under our terms of our contract. So we locked ourselves into a pretty tough situation. The idea of a small utility like ours to be in a generation mode, we would have to have a very good partner. Using my Dover, Delaware example, Duke Energy came in and became our partner. But they could sell off systems, they could purchase gas considerably cheaper than we could for our unit, and then they also were able to purchase power out of the market from North Carolina. So they were able to drive our prices down in our contractual agreement with them, just based on their market size and what they could do. But they actually ran the plant. That term of that contract was about 10 years. My successor did not believe in that same concept, and they now have challenges with their power plant and their prices of their electric commodities. So it all depends on how you're going, but a city to take on the capital requirements and the fuel purchase requirements, you're going to have some type, in my opinion, you have to have some type of partner in order to make that, even that competitive.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor, for being here, and the lady back there, I'm sorry I didn't get your name. I have two questions. What are the costs associated with the sale, you know, to the city of Vero Beach?
At this point, it's $1.7 million.
Do you anticipate it's gonna go a lot higher than that?
The GAI study, taking that under, you've got to understand that, again, it's several years old. They said that you're going to have a 5% cost of a transaction. Any real estate transaction you do, 5% of $111 million. And if you took the higher number of the actual transactional cost of 170 million. It runs it up. I don't think we'll go that high, but I think we will spend more, well, we'll spend more than we have spent to this point.
Can I just say one thing to that? We spend, right now, we're paying over $2 million a month in premium electric costs. So at 1.7 today, I think it's been a bargain if we can get FPL rates.
And that's over the 2-year period.
The other question is, one of the objectives of selling the utilities for the city of Vero Beach is to control the rates for the, for your citizens. What control would you have over FPL once they take charge? If they decided tomorrow to raise the prices, for whatever reason, they decide that, what control would the city have? What say would the city have in that?
We will not have a say, but they cannot differentiate our rates from their customer base, so therefore we would be competitive with their customer base. What we had to do is look back retrospectively and see that their rates have always been competitive, and in this particular case, and with the fracking and the purchase of gas in the foreseeable future being the fuel of choice, and their large base load of that fuel choice has taken us to a point that we think that in the future, they appear to be the star to tie to. If you look at TECO or Duke Energy, their prices are considerably higher than Florida Power and Light. And their foreseeable future, take Duke as an example, and I use them in a positive form up north, but in Florida, they bought the Crystal River plant. That does not look like a major good investment at this point, and they're just driving their rates up. And so in a competitive market, we felt like that Florida Power and Light was the best in this particular market.
And something, I just wanted to say that the whole thing is to protect the customer. I mean, municipal electric companies can raise their rates at any time without any justification, but the FPL has to go to the PSC, and they have to justify their rates. So I think that protects our customers for the future.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Appreciate that.
Could we ask you to state your name for the record?
I'm so sorry.
My name is Pilar Turner. I'm a city councilman for Vero Beach.
Thank you. Well, thank you for making the trek down here. It's been very informative.